The Socialist United Party of Venezuela held primary elections to choose their candidates for regional elections on November 21st. At least 15 people have been killed and 17 were injured after a bus accident in Turkey. And firefighters and local people are battling wildfires on the island of Evia that have burned vast areas of pine forest and forced hundreds of people to flee. Hello, welcome to TeleSUR English. I am Estefania Bravo from the headquarters of Quito in Ecuador. This is From the South. The Socialist United Party of Venezuela held primary elections to choose their candidates for regional elections on November 21st. President Nicolás Maduro confirmed the installation of the electoral polls in more than 5,000 polling stations at a national level. The electoral process was held peacefully around the country. On November 21st, Venezuela will elect 23 governors and 335 mayors, as well as the legislative and municipality council members. The National Electoral Council has administered the process.
We have the opportunity to make serious decisions based on a procedure called voting, which embodies democracy, and we are almost the standard bearers at the level of the Americas. We occupy the first place. We won the gold medal in democracy.
This is an extraordinary process with the participation of all the people who choose their candidates and the best one wins. We are in a historic process. It is true socialism, what is called the people's power.
The Venezuelan president said the primary elections are a contribution to the consolidation of peace and political dialogue among the Venezuelan people.
I always ask, is war the way to go? Is to shoot each other the way to go? Is to conspire and call for military intervention in Venezuela the way to go? No. The way is to look for solutions among all of us. The way is to understand each other, to listen to each other in the ideological and political diversity of the country. That is the way. I believe that dialogue contributes to peace. And I believe that this open primary election, as a historical milestone in the stage that opens in Venezuela this year, 2021, is a great contribution to the consolidation of peace and political dialogue among Venezuelans.
The Cuban government has received a donation of food and other supplies from Nicaragua to face the pandemic. The ship Augusto César Sandino was received by the Cuban Minister of Science, Technology and Environment, Elba Pérez, at the port of Mariel on Friday. The donation consists of 30 containers of food supplies to help the Cuban government face the COVID-19 pandemic and to mitigate the effects of the economic, commercial and financial blockade imposed by the U.S. In 1994, the United Nations declared an International Day of the World Indigenous People, establishing it on August 9th. This international holiday has been celebrated also in various nations. Each year, UNESCO marks the celebration of the day by sharing information on projects and activities that are relevant to the annual theme. Indigenous peoples live in all regions of the world and own, occupy, or use some 22% of global land area. Numbering at least 370 to 500 million indigenous peoples, represent the greater part of the world's cultural diversity and have created and speak the major shape of the world's almost 7,000 languages.
What we are seeing in the research we are doing, in the evidence we are gathering from the field all over the world in different indigenous people's food systems, is that they are game changers. They are sustainable and they are resilient. And this is not just empty words. They've been practicing these indigenous food systems for hundreds of years, and they've been generating food without depleting the natural resource base for several years.
Indigenous peoples are not just experiencing this pandemic due to COVID-19. We are experiencing multiple pandemics, including violence to land tenure, security, peace, the increasing violence toward gender, but also the part of climate change that has affected the ways of producing and continuing with a life in harmony since, despite not being the greatest devastating of biodiversity. We are the ones who mostly experience the effects on the loss of the rivers, of the lakes, including food.
We're taking our very first break now. Join us again after this, but don't forget to follow me on my Twitter account at TeleSUR for more news. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. At least 15 people have been killed and 17 injured after a bus veered off a major road and rolled down an embankment in western Turkey. According to local authorities, the crash happened around 4:40 a.m. local time in Balıkesir province. 11 people were declared dead at the scene, while 4 others died later in the hospital following the tragic incident. The bus belonging to travel company FTS was traveling from Zonguldak in northern Turkey to Izmir in western Turkey when it went off the road. The causes are still under investigation. Taliban groups have captured the key northern city of Kunduz, one of the largest in Afghanistan, after fierce fighting with government forces. A provincial council member, Ghulam Rabbani, said fighting between insurgents and government forces had taken place around the governor's office and police headquarters, and later the Taliban had taken over the 2 buildings. They also had control over the main prison building in Kunduz. At the moment, fighting is continuing at the airport and other parts of the city. Airstrikes have damaged the health clinic and high school in the capital of Afghanistan's Helmand province. A defense ministry statement confirmed that airstrikes were carried out in parts of the city of Lashkar Gah. It said forces targeted Taliban positions, killing 54 fighters and wounding 23 others. The Taliban surge has intensified as U.S. and NATO troops wrap up their withdrawal from the country. As Taliban attacks increase, Afghan security forces and government troops have struck with airstrikes supported by the United States. The fighting has raised growing concerns about civilian casualties.
It was around 10:30 p.m. when the airstrike happened. The ward called and told me that the school had caught fire. Come to school.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has received the Libyan transitional Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Deibi in Istanbul on Saturday. The meeting between both leaders lasted an hour and a half. They later attended a meeting between delegations from the 2 countries. Turkey and Libya have seen closer ties in recent years, especially after the signing of security and maritime boundary pacts in November of 2019, and after Turkey came to the aid of the legitimate Libyan government to help push back a coup attempt. Israel has conducted an overnight strike in Gaza that damaged olive trees. The olive trees function on a socioeconomic level. It is a source of income for farmers and provides security for future generations to ensure that they will have a consistent income as well. Olive trees carry more than an economic significance in the lives of Palestinians. They are not just like any other trees, they are symbolic of Palestinians' attachment to their land because the trees are drought resistant and grow under poor soil conditions. They represent Palestinian resistance and resilience.
My children and I were sleeping in the house, and suddenly we heard the pounding and the rockets. And we came here running and found the leaves destroyed and the land also. We did nothing against them, and the situation is calm since the last war. Even the resistance did not do anything towards them.
Peru's President Pedro Castillo has received the first dose of China's Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine on the opening day of the fourth vaccination program that started in the capital, Lima. Castillo's vaccination overlapped with the beginning of the mass application of the Sinopharm vaccine to the general population. The president assured that his government will give an absolute priority to vaccination programs. Currently, the vaccine is open for application in Lima. People aged 28 to 34 are eligible to receive the first dose, while people above 35 are able to receive the second one.
It is time to guarantee health. I came to be vaccinated with this vaccine, the Sinopharm, because I have faith not only in this vaccine, but also in all vaccines. But it is necessary to make a call. I call upon all the brothers, all the Peruvians, so that we prioritize this right to health, the right to life.
South Africa has started vaccinating homeless people, one of the country's most vulnerable communities, with one-dose vaccines to ensure full protection against COVID-19. It's estimated that around 200,000 people live on South Africa's streets, which is a vulnerable community that has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic due to the harsh outdoor environment and a higher rate of pre-existing medical conditions. The government says it will prioritize the use of a single-dose Johnson & Johnson's jabs in its drive to vaccinate people living in remote, homeless, and rural communities. The homelessness people in South Africa who want to be vaccinated will be able to sign up whether or not they have formal identity documents. A batch of China's Sinopharm vaccines has arrived at Zambia's international airport in Lusaka. The Chinese envoy said the donation was another important embodiment of the friendship and the unity of the two governments in fighting the pandemic. He hoped the donation of the vaccines will support Zambia's anti-pandemic efforts. China has recently announced that it will strive to provide 2 billion COVID-19 doses to the world throughout this year and offer $100 million to COVAX. The $100 million to COVAX will mainly go to the distribution of vaccines to developing countries.
We started the immunization program in April this year, and the demand for vaccines has exceeded our supply. So by having an additional lot of vaccines, it makes a difference in our vaccination program.
An intensive coronavirus vaccination campaign was launched in Tunisia on Sunday. It's targeting people aged 40 and over who have not yet received the jab. 331 vaccination centers have been set up, each with a supply of 4,000 doses. More than 20,800 people have died from the virus in Tunisia, according to Johns Hopkins University. This is the largest operation since the launch of the national inoculation campaign in March of 2021.
I'm afraid of getting sick with the coronavirus. I am short of breath and I'm afraid of the situation in the country, in our hospitals and the lack of oxygen. And as far as I'm concerned, I feel more secure with the vaccine.
I've been waiting a long time, since March, and thank God there is this walking day. I am vaccinated, and I hope God protects us.
We're taking our last break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. Firefighters and local people are battling wildfires on the island of Evia that have burned vast areas of pine forest and forced hundreds of people to flee. Over 1,000 people have been evacuated by ferries from a seaside village and beaches on the island of Evia, popular with holidaymakers and campers after flames from a massive wildfire burning for days cut off all other means of escape. For the fourth consecutive day, Greece's firefighting forces have been stretched to the limit. The government has appealed for help through the European Union's emergency support system.
This disaster that has taken place is terrible. From what I see, the fire has reached up to Lake Marathon. I am afraid that possibly our great-grandchildren will be able to walk here again. It's a huge disaster.
Meanwhile, wildfires in Russia's Siberia region has endangered several villages and prompted authorities to evacuate residents of some areas. Officials have reported that in northeastern Siberia, 93 active forest fires burned across 1.1 million hectares of Sakha Yakutia, making it the worst affected region of Russia. The Defense Ministry has deployed 120 military engineers to fight the fire in the region. In recent years, Russia has recorded high temperatures that many scientists regard as a result of climate change.
During the day, we distinguished 11 fires in the overall square of more than 50,000 hectares and have located 9 fires at the square of more than 39,000 hectares.
A fire has erupted in a large garbage landfill close to Belgrade, prompting city authorities to warn residents of the Serbian capital to stay indoors. Most of the city was covered in smoke, full smells and haze after the fire that erupted in Europe's second largest landfill located in the village of Binka, one of the city's outskirts. The Belgrade mayor said the fire was under control, but added that Belgrade residents should close their windows and refrain from leaving their homes if they smell the smoke. Thousands of homes have been damaged in Sudan after torrential rains caused heavy floodings, with many streets in the capital Khartoum deep in water. Heavy rains usually fall in Sudan from June to October, and the country faces severe flooding every year, wrecking properties, infrastructure, and crops. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said around 12,000 people had been affected, over 800 homes have been reportedly destroyed, and over 4,400 homes damaged. Last year, heavy rains forced Sudan to declare a 3-month state of emergency after flooding affected at least 650,000 people.
We woke up in the morning to the rain, and we found water at the edge of the door of the house. We went out into the neighborhood and found the sewage system blocked in more than one place.
The autumn season is known to us for the rain. People must prepare for the autumn season. The rains come suddenly like a counterback. At any moment, it may rain. The municipality must be prepared, at least from last March, and be ready in May, for example. Yesterday, the weather was clear until 3 o'clock in the morning, and then suddenly clouds gathered and it rained.
One of the Nigerian schoolgirls kidnapped by Boko Haram militants more than 7 years ago is free and has been reunited with her family. Borno State Governor Babagba Umara Sulum said in a statement that Ruth Ngladar Pogu surrendered to the military last month along with a person she said she had married. Nearly 300 schoolgirls, most aged between 12 and 17, were abducted by Boko Haram in April 2014 from Chibok in northeastern Nigeria, sparking an international outcry and the Bring Back Our Girls campaign for their release.
I thank God to be able to see my daughter alive 7 years after she was kidnapped in school. I'm really happy and would like to thank the Borno State government and the military. May God bring the remaining ones.
And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also be sure to follow us on our social media web pages. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I am Estefania Bravo. See you next time.